He was one of the greatest men I ever knew. And I miss him every day. Hi guys, my name is Jeremy with Fleetwood Patch. Thank you so much for stopping by. If this is your first time, we encourage you to hit that like and subscribe button. That way we can bring you more content, which we love to do. Our channel, we focus on urban homesteading and things you can do in your own backyard. We also go out to businesses and we interview them from time to time and see how you can incorporate that into your urban homesteading lifestyle. You can reach us at fleetwoodpatch@gmail.com, also on Facebook and Instagram at Fleetwood Patch. So here we are, guys. We are 5 days away from Christmas. Yes, it is already here. This year has really flown by, and at times it also feels like it's taken forever to get through. So I hope you guys are having a great week, and I hope you plan on spending a lot of time with family this week and enjoying the holiday season. I wanted to talk a little bit today. When we think of Christmas, a lot of times we also think of people in our past that we used to spend Christmases with that are no longer here. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about who actually got me started in gardening, who got me interested, I guess you could say. And that was my grandfather. Now, just to kind of set the scene for what it was like growing up with him, I actually lived with my grandparents and my parents. So it was me, my siblings, my parents, and my grandparents, all under one roof. Which was interesting at times, but we definitely had a tight family unit. And my grandfather in particular was a gardener, was a backyard home gardener. He was from West Virginia, him and his wife from West Virginia, and he was part of that lifestyle. Back in the Depression, when people were growing their own food, that was something that was very typical for him, and it's something that he kept throughout most of his life. I can remember very vividly him having a garden in our backyard, and he grew corn, he grew tomatoes, he grew cucumbers. I mean, he grew whatever he could, and it was not uncommon, especially in the summertime, for him to go out and harvest, and my grandmother to make a nice big family dinner, and to have us all sit down as a family, something I think is really missing in today's society. We definitely need to start eating more together at the table as a family, putting the devices down and just being with our family. But he was one of the most kind and patient men I ever met. Years ago, we lived in Ohio, very close to Cedar Point area. For those of you who are familiar with northern Ohio, Cleveland area, that's where we lived. and my grandparents lived in that area as well. I can remember in his backyard, he had apple trees and he had a garden going all the time. And it was something that he loved. It was something that he enjoyed. You know, he worked for GM for many years as a factory worker, but when he came home, that was his time to relax. That was his time to be out in the yard and be at one with nature and with God. And that's what he loved doing. In later years, after he retired, and we decided to move out to Colorado, we being my parents, my grandparents decided that they wanted to come out too, and we wanted them to stay with us. And even then, even when we first got out here and we were renting a house, he still had a very tiny little garden that he had going. And then when we got into a house to own, there was a garden bed out there. And he always took full advantage of that every year. I can vividly remember every year when he would start growing tomatoes, he would put the walls of water around the tomatoes. And, you know, watching things like that through the years, it kind of stuck in my head. And back then I wasn't really passionate about gardening, and I think it was because I was a lot younger. And, you know, when you're young, you really don't think about that stuff too much. You're thinking about your dreams and aspirations, and gardening for some reason tends to not fall in there. But that stuck with me, the things that he did out in there, and I remembered that. I can remember when I was very, very little, I had a big fear, huge fear of bugs, and especially bees. And I can remember freaking out in the backyard, in his backyard, this was back in Ohio, because there were bees around. And I will never forget, he went up to the tree. This is where the blooms were just starting to come out, so it had to have been spring. There were flowers all around, and he came up to that tree and he stuck his finger out to a flower where a bee was, and he just set it there. And that little bee just started crawling on his finger. And as a kid, I was freaking out, but I was also kind of amazed that he wasn't getting stung, because I just thought bees wanted to sting people all the time. That's just kind of where my mindset was when I was a kid. And to my amazement, it didn't. It just crawled on him, and he just kind of looked at me as it was doing it, looked down, and just kind of gave a little bit of a grin. And it was almost like that reassurance of, you don't have to be afraid of this. This is all good. This is going to be okay. And it was a kind of a big testimony to me. I can look back now and say how one with nature that he really was. In later years, one of the toughest and most heartbreaking things to watch as he got older and things became more difficult for him was when he had to get to that point of, I can't be in a garden anymore. I just don't have the strength to do this. And it was really heartbreaking to watch that. That was his joy. That was his sanctuary. And sorry. It's hard to think about someone that you love and someone who really you admired, watching them get to that point in life where it's harder and harder for them to go out there and do what they love. But I'm grateful. I mean, what he did out in that garden planted the seed in me for years, and then years later, it came up in my head again about gardening. and I tried it out in my own backyard, and it was very small, one little raised garden bed, but I really got a lot of enjoyment out of it. It was very rewarding for me and my wife, and we started to discover that's really something that we enjoy doing, and we really started jumping into it hardcore after that. And I really don't think I would have had the drive to do that had I not remembered what my grandfather did when he was still alive, and the lessons that he taught me, really without even saying a word. It was just watching him. And he always was welcome to have company out in the garden when he was working out there. I remember my dad going out in that garden, walking around and picking snap peas and just snacking on them. And I mean, it was just so enjoyable for him to have that. Even now, when he comes over to my house and I have snap peas, he's picking them. He loves it. And I think it's kind of interesting whenever that happens, and we talk about gardening and we talk about what I'm doing here. There's always a comparison to my grandfather and what he did, and that is really humbling to hear that. So as we go into the holiday season, I want you guys to remember people in your past, people that inspired you, people that you still get a little teary-eyed when you sit down at the dinner table at Christmas and remember that empty chair for that person that's no longer there. And I wanted to bring this to you guys. Who inspired you to really grow? Who inspired you to do a garden? Was it family? Was it a friend? Was it someone that you watched on YouTube possibly? Who inspired you? I really want to read some of these comments down below, because I think it's important to know where we got that spark from. Who kind of set us up for that in our heads of, this is really something that I enjoy doing. And tell me a little bit about them. Okay, guys, and I also wanted to talk about what we got coming up in the future. As you see on our channel, we've already met with a couple businesses, and the interviews were just absolutely fantastic. And man, I really enjoy doing those type of sets. And I'm very pleased to say we have more businesses coming up next year. It'll probably be in the spring when things really start to get going again, but we got at least 2 businesses right now that we're going to be meeting with. I'm not going to say who they are or what they're involved with or anything like that, just because I don't want to give it away yet. But we got some really awesome content coming up for 2021. Also, guys, leave a comment down below. I want to hear what your goals are for your garden, for your homesteading lifestyle, whether it be urban, whether it be out in the middle of nowhere. Leave a comment below. I want to hear what your goals are for next year. All right, guys, take care. I hope you have a really fantastic Christmas. Spend it with family. Enjoy each other's company. Remember those people that are no longer with us, and know that they're still looking down on us. Even when we're out in the garden, that's when we feel the most at one with them. Take care. God bless.